second turn, first card plays, or both card plays for the Islamicists. They started off with this card. Would have given a casus belli against Iraq, but U.S. isn't hard. No problem. 3-point card. Triggered off a major jihad over in Central Asia. Well, they didn't get it. In fact, they only got one success. That shifts it to Allied and regional, a besieged regime, though. But then, because they played a 3-point card, they got 2 out of 3 failures, not enough to push it over. Then they went again for the same thing, playing this card, which they can't use because the U.S. is hard. And they just succeeded in an Islamist change. And that's going to change government from poor to Islamicist, alignment to adversary. The besieged regime, I believe, disappears. Resources are added to funding. Well, there's 2, but we can only go up 1. And the U.S. prestige drops. No, there's no troops, so the U.S. prestige does not drop there. Okay, so we've had a revolt happen, and now the U.S. has to deal with a more dangerous thing, Central Asia. Presumably, that's risky in terms of the WMD issues. I haven't seen any cards, though. If this were Pakistan, these would immediately be available because the Pakistani arsenal would be in place. And on the U.S. side, we didn't have any plots in play, and we played their cards. The first card, detainee release, this doesn't affect them. They didn't do any disruptions on the last action phase of this turn. They played it as their first card of last turn. They played it as this turn's card. They did it to change Afghanistan War of Ideas. They succeeded. Now they have a good state there in allied condition. That gives them a bonus doing the War of Ideas elsewhere. Now, they're soft. They can't go in and regime change Central Asia, but they had a kind of cool card. It didn't work. Play if you can select an adversary country. Well, they picked their Islamicist Central Asia. On a 4 through 6, it would have been neutral. That would allow them to deploy troops in there and start handling the issue. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. That's a pity. Okay, so now we're back on to the jihadists. Alright, so the jihadi player plays both his cards for events here. Pump that forward. Iran allowed them... Yep. I forgot to test the Shia mixed country. Hold on. I did that wrong. I dropped that into Pakistan. And I'm allowed to make jihad rolls, but I have to test it. And I didn't roll the governance. The governance was fair. Yeah, it stayed fair. So, and then the effect on it was the jihadi rolls. One was a success there, which dropped it. There's no penalty for failure on that. And over here, the Shenzhen visas allowed me to pull a couple of things out of Central Asia and slip them into the Benelux countries and Germany. Alright, we've seen some action, including an attempt to launch plots over in Benelux and Germany. I don't remember what this point was used for. That was fired off. We used reserves here. I'll explain that in a moment. But what else did they do? I don't know what they did with this 1-point card. They used a 2-pointer for plots there. I don't remember what was done with the 1-pointer. But the U.S. saved up some points. They played 2 Islamic jihadist events for points. One of them to set up reserves, and then another. They got Pakistan up to fair because of that. But along with that, they ended up testing Lebanon, screwing up Syria, causing problems in Iraq. So the Near East, well, the Near East actually is becoming kind of problematic while they're settling on Pakistan. I think I forgot to put a cadre here, but I'm not going to try to repair that. I think that was squelched through a disruption action. I know there was a disruption action here and I forgot my cadre. Anyway, a number of actions have taken place. I've actually gone through 2 rounds of cards. I'm trying to do things more quickly, but I still feel this desire to tell you everything, even though I don't remember everything. Alright, so we've got a terrorist cell here in the U.S. managed to drop a plot in. Not from this was done earlier, mainly to get rid of that card and not have it go into play. It was a 1-point card, though. I know it's a 1-point plot because there's no weapons of mass destruction. As the U.S., I'm going to pass. I don't think this card is worth it. And what happens is funding goes to 9. It's already there. I have to roll U.S. posture. This could change the U.S. view. And my feeling is, well, if it ends up hard, that's all for the good. Okay, that 5, the U.S. does go hard, and that's a problem because we were set up doing quite well before that. And now we roll the U.S. prestige. And we get a 3, which is going to drop the U.S. prestige. And now since the U.S. is holding this card and not playing it, and we're at the resolves plot, we're at the end of the turn. We go through these. Funding goes down by 1. Prestige. There is a country under Islamist rule. It's beginning to drop. Things aren't looking good for the U.S. there. +1 net posture. They're not allied anymore. In fact, this is a big penalty. Lapsing events reserves to 0. That's already set. This is going to go away. And we got new hands. And that's about it. But where we are at the end of this second turn, Central Asia is still there. Got some Islamicists still present everywhere, including in the United States. That's going to have to get squelched. This went off, but now it just goes back to the pool. And the U.S. pulled their troops out of Afghanistan. They succeeded there, but they're having some real trouble in the rest of the world now. I like with Twilight Struggle, management of card play, the order you want to play your cards based on how much they're going to hurt you if they've got an opposing event. And the fact that you pretty much play your own cards, probably not for events, although it's less important here. Here, events might be more powerful than some of the cards, some of the ops values. More often. But for example, with the U.S., they wanted to make sure the loose nuke got out of the way. It doesn't hurt them right now because it can't be played. And they wanted to make sure this leak gets out of the way because they have the card for it. So what they held in their hand in terms of things they want to get rid of and make sure don't hurt them becomes something of a determinant as to what they're doing, and in the process they managed to boost their prestige up a couple of points. And as the jihadists are recruiting in Pakistan, that was their last couple of plays, they've only gotten 1 guy there. The U.S. decides they can't be this far from the world opinion, and they don't have an easy way to turn world opinion hard, so they did a reassessment. 2 big 3-point cards shifted themselves back to soft. It's where they need to be. These cards don't hurt them, so that's kind of cool. Oh boy, the Islamicist is having a field day here. They have this martyrdom operation. Well, they replaced that cell in the United States with 2 plots. That's going to be real tough for the U.S. to prevent 2 of them, and that could well end up with this shifting. That's why they did it, really. The second one, jihadist videos, they ended up testing a number of areas, Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco and upping the poor rating. Now, if they can get this up to 15 and U.S. prestige down to 1, they win. And that's just another variety to try to cause problems. That's mainly what they're just doing, is trying to cause enough problems that the U.S. has no way of handling things. And we've pumped them there. Luckily for them, the U.S. has a handful of 3-point cards they don't mind playing. This one, obviously, hey, no biggie. This one, well, it adds some resources, but Wahhabism is just not that big a deal. We've got funding way up there anyway. Would the plots going off in the U.S. be that terrible? Not really. They might decrease prestige a couple of points, though, and we're kind of worried about that. And what's really worrisome is there's a fair chance that that would switch. Got rid of the sell, though, and that's kind of the biggest thing, perhaps. Now the U.S. is beginning to have to play some cards. This is the one that they had been holding to prevent plots, because they really didn't want to play it. Well, they had to. They're, running out of cards they don't want to play. They have another one they really don't want to play. This place is a besieged regime over in Afghanistan, and a cell there, and in Pakistan. They only got one of those, and they didn't get the -1 prestige or 3 if either's an Islamic, so that goes down. They played that in order to improve Pakistan back to an ally. Then they played this wiretapping. This is kind of weird. I'm not sure how this works. I got a little chip for it, and it says, play if any cadres, cells, or plots in USA or Canada, remove them all, place no cadres, draw a card. I drew the card. Can be blocked by leak. Now, I had an earlier card that seems to cause problems with this, but I think this is just a one-use card, and it's saying we're wiretapping now. You got rid of a problem, but now we're wiretapping stuff, and that can cause future problems. That mark is just to let us know that issue could happen. Now we're back on the jihadists. Well, after the end of turn maintenance type events, jihadist funding still up high, but U.S. prestige is boosted up due to its agreement with the world policy. Managed to hunt down, boosted it to close to that, managed to hunt down some Pakistani cells. We haven't killed them off yet, but we got troops in play because we got them up to ally, and that all worked pretty well there. Except I cheated. I couldn't do that. Sorry. I only had a 1-point card. Got to think of what I want to do with a 1-point card. This is a possibility. Well, actually, the problem... Yeah, 2-point card, put troops there. I'm going to... It's going to be hard to get troops into Saudi Arabia again, so I'm going to take a cut in my total troop force. And if I'm doing that, I'm going to leave these guys. I moved them from the Gulf states. I'm going to leave them in play. I'm just pushing my troops out a little further. Now, I do get that point because I had a 1... No. I'm not able to suppress because I'm just dropping troops into play. Okay, and this caused Somali to get more of those. So that's where we're sitting. U.S. prestige isn't high enough yet, but once I start squelching some of these cells, it will get better, and that's kind of where I gotta hope this moves up. This one's going up, and I'll deal out the cards and start another turn.